Hi guys. Today we are going to start experimenting with some of the different supplies in our art kit. We're going to make a drawing that uses a number of them. We'll be using pencil, we'll be using charcoal, we'll be using colored pencil, and we'll also be using Sharpie. Um, so the subject of your drawing is going to be something in nature that brings you joy. I want you to find a photograph of that thing in nature that brings you joy. Um, you can see I've got my picture here that I'm going to use as my reference. I'll show you guys. I am going to be making a drawing of a strawberry because strawberries are tasty and they're fun to draw. They've got a lot of detail. So that's what I'm going to be drawing. A reference like this is good. I also recommend, if you're looking at your phone for reference, take a picture, take a screenshot, and put just a black and white filter on it so you can see it in black and white. I also printed mine out just in black and white so I could see it without any color. This is going to make it a little easier when I'm doing some shaded drawings. So for this drawing, basically I am going to need, whether I'm drawing in pencil or charcoal or color pencil or what have you, I'm going to need to lay out my basic shape in pencil, and I'm going to be making 4 separate drawings using the different materials, so I'm going to need to divide my paper into quadrants. So if you're working in your sketchbook, there's no need to tear this out. You can just use your ruler, measure, find a halfway point horizontally, and a halfway point vertically. And you can just draw that in with pencil. If you're going to use a loose piece of paper like I am, you can measure like that. You could also fold your paper. That is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to fold it in half this way. Give it a good crease. And then I'm going to fold it in half this way. This is going to make my 4 even quadrants that I'm going to draw my strawberry in. I'm basically going to be drawing this strawberry 4 times with 4 different materials, exploring like techniques for each of these materials so I can get a feeling for, what these materials can do. For some of you, some of these materials may be brand new, so I just wanted to take some time and start with something that's just going to let us practice a little bit. I do want you, when you're selecting your image of something that brings you joy in nature, I had a really hard time deciding between strawberries and frogs because I think that frogs, are, I look at frogs and I can't help but smile. They bring me joy. I do want you to choose something that is a photograph and choose something that has interesting lighting on it. You want to see dark, you want to see highlights, you want to see some middle grays, you want to see a lot of different values within your photograph. I don't want you to choose anything like a cartoon. I want you to, choose something that's, going to be a realistic kind of photograph to draw from. That's going to give you a lot of information to work with. If you are a photographer, please feel free to take your own. You don't need to print out a copy like I have, but I feel like it's going to make it easier for me to work on my black and white versions. So I wanted one of these. Again, if you're looking at it on your phone, save a color version, take a screenshot. And then you can also take that screenshot and put a black and white filter on it so you can see just the value. Let's see. When you start drawing, it's a little harder to see the value in color by itself, the shading. You'll get better at seeing it as you practice, but this helps to make it, clearer, just the black and white image. So what I'm going to need on my paper to start off with is I'm going to need contour drawings. I have done these contour drawings in pencil, and you can see I have made my strawberry large in each quadrant. I have sketched in all of the edges of the form that I could see. So when I say the edges, I mean the contour drawing is about more than the outline. It's about all of the excuse me, all of the details on the inside, even like things like, you know, when you're seeing a highlight, you might note on your drawing, where do you see that highlight with contour? So some, depending on the material I'm drawing in for each of these sketches, I might have to lighten these up. So you don't want to go really, really heavy with your marks here. I probably went a little heavier than I should so that they would show up on screen. But you can go a little bit lighter with yours. So I'm going to do one of my squares right now. This drawing I've already started and I've got 2 more done. So you're going to want to do a contour drawing in each square that is the same object. It is going to it's going to be a good exercise for you also to practice drawing the same thing a couple different times. Try with every time you draw. Don't get, you know, don't get relaxed with it. Really look, use your eyes and look hard for the details that you're seeing each time you draw. You're going to see more, if you are doing this, you're going to see more and more and understand more about what you're looking at with each time you draw it. So you'll see the details of it in greater depth. All right, so I'm going to scoot this over so it's well in the screen. And I'm going to start with the biggest shapes that I see, looking at the outlines of the biggest shapes that I see. Sorry, not just outline, contour. I'm looking at the contour, so the shapes of the edges. So I see definitely the edge of the, I guess, the body of the strawberry against that black background. And I am going to just kind of loosely and lightly sketch it in with my pencil, trying to plan out what that shape is going to be like. These first lines, you know, keep them really light because odds are you're going to change your mind a little bit as you're drawing. All right. As you become a little bit more certain about where things are located, you can start bearing down and giving a little bit more pressure to your contour line drawing. So I'm going to look at my form again, and I'm going to notice everything I can about the edge. I think it's a little more pointy down here at the bottom. Now, sometimes people will erase these early kind of sketching lines, and sometimes people just draw a little bit harder as they decide more where things are located, and just let those sketching lines become part of the drawing. All right, I feel like that's a pretty good shape for the body of the strawberry. So I'm going to go on to the leaves. Each of these leaves is different and has a slightly different character. So I'm going to look carefully at them. God bless you. This morning in our house, we're sneezing a lot. You heard me sneeze a minute ago, and my husband just sneezed. The dog hasn't sneezed yet, but I think we're headed that way, maybe. All right. See this little leaf over here that's folded and catching the light. Make sure to get that fold in there. Okay. All right, let's try contours for the other leaves. I notice this one goes slightly higher. And just like the body of the strawberry, you know, as you're working on this drawing at any time, you know, you might notice something about it that you hadn't noticed yet, and you might change it a little bit, or you might change it a lot. So, you know, don't get too attached to these marks that you're putting down. Like, drawing is kind of constantly negotiating, like, what you're seeing. It's what you're putting on paper. All right, so I feel like I started with the biggest form, the body of the strawberry, and I went to the next biggest form I saw, the leaves. And so I've got a big general idea of what this should look like. I've also got, you know, the details of the seeds that are on the berries and then the highlights. I might see the edges of shadows, you know, here. I could follow the edges of shadows, and I could find the edges of that as part of my contour line drawing. All these things are going to help me as I start to create my value drawing. I know that finding that shadow is going to be really important to giving this strawberry volume. So I'm trying to mark out a little bit where I might see the edges of those shadows. I also want to make sure to include my highlights that I'm seeing. So I'm going to try to put some of that shape in here as well. Now this is going to change and evolve as I start shading my drawing. It's not going to stay the same. These are kind of like, you know, just notes for me to know kind of where I want things to be. As I get over here again to the edge of the strawberry, I'm noticing that there are seeds along the outer edge. So maybe I don't want this whole edge to be as even. So I'm coming back and maybe tweaking the contour a little bit as I work on it. Got a couple of highlights that are not as bright as the highlight from the direct light over here is. Over here on the shadowy or more shadowy side of the strawberry. So I'm going to mark those in too. I see a couple here, highlights. I see a highlight along the edge of the strawberry here. I have a feeling that's going to help to bring some volume back in, especially when I start to make that background very dark. I also see a highlight over here around some of these seeds, so I'm just going to kind of map that out. So I've got kind of just a general light mapping of where I want my highlights and where I want my shadows. I am going to come in and try to give some textures for the seeds here as well. You know, I'm not going to focus on so much copying exactly the seeds that are in the picture of the strawberry, but I'm trying to look at, like, how do these seeds grow? Like, they kind of have a curved arc that they grow in. Like, how are they lined up? How many of them? When do they get big? When do they get small? They're smaller down here at the bottom. So if I can notice things like that about the characteristics, I don't have to get caught up in copying the picture exactly, because I'm being true to what is happening in nature anyway. So I might try to lay some of these out in an arcing kind of pattern. The ones at the top in general feel larger to me than the ones at the bottom. And I'm not going to be really rigid about putting these in even spaced order. You know, nature is not perfect. I remember watching, like, a long time ago, not a long time ago, but probably before you were born, not that long ago, but maybe before you were born, like when CG movies started out, the surfaces of things were often too perfect and smooth, and you could tell right away, you know, that something wasn't natural. So, you know, it's good when you're drawing something from nature not to, you know, go overboard and try to make it perfect. Because nature is rarely mathematically regular. You know, we see patterns and things, but the patterns are slightly imperfect. That's what gives things their, you know, character of the quality of being alive. And it also, you know, if you're making a drawing, like, you know, seeing that a person made it makes your drawing feel more alive too. And that means it's not always going to be perfect. All right. So, again, without stressing out about, you know, every single location according to the photo, I feel like I've done a fair job of mapping out kind of what the strawberries move like when the strawberry seeds move like around the strawberry when they get closer together, maybe when they get further apart. So I've got one contour line drawing. Next, I would, you know, go to the next square, or rectangle rather, and make another one. I'd make another one, and I'd make another one. So you're going to be drawing your form, really looking at the contour and observing it 4 separate times. Hopefully by the time you get here, your drawing is going to be better. And the way to make that happen is you need to focus with each one. You know, if you need to take a little break, stretch between, you know, that's fine. But you want to keep coming back and looking hard at your source image. Don't start generalizing when you get up here and you're tired, okay? Take a break if you need to, stretch your legs, stretch out, but really focus on your source material as you're drawing, okay? Well, let's get started with our contour line drawings.